Hi and welcome back, everyone. We've had some really interesting speakers that have been covering the topic sparking innovation. And I'm very happy that they've joined the panel discussion here. So the aim of the discussion here is to try to discuss a little bit more about the topic that has been covered during these three presentations by Lotta, Dirk, and Gunnar. So thanks very much for joining this panel. And I'm gonna jump more or less straight to the point. The topic that you've been covering is more or less how to spark innovation or how to encourage innovation from different angles. Now, the overall topic or the overall theme for this event is accelerating sustainable innovation. And some topics that have been running through my mind is how do we ensure that we have enough people to maybe recruit, because today there is a war for talent when it comes to recruiting new people, and how do you think the shortage of really the right kind of people, the right competencies, how do you think that affects innovation? Maybe I would like to start with you, Dirk. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Rehan, I think it's a really important point. I think key for innovation is diversity of thinking. So we want to have people innovating and bring different ideas together. That's what we found to be the most productive. I mentioned the co-founder teams that we put together with different skill sets, but we also try to bring people together with different level of experience in the company. Have some people that are new, some people that have been there for 20 years, different kind of backgrounds. So the diversity of thinking is, for me, a very important success factor for innovation. Now, in Cytiva, we have been lucky, I would say. We have lots of open positions, but that's because we're growing dramatically right now. And we have been very lucky in getting really, really very good talent. But as an industry, we're facing a shortage. And that's why we're also looking, and we as a company try also to go to colleges worldwide, for example, particularly in the US, when we think about underprivileged communities or underprivileged parts of the society. So we want to encourage them to come into our industry to take the spot. We're still not diverse enough, I would say. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's a really important point of sustaining innovation, is to be diverse.
Maybe I can add on that, because at Testa Center, that was something we thought about from the start, but also that has grown. And it was also one of the topics that the government wanted us to support with. It's really the development and the education of people into this sort of high value industry that biopharmaceutical industry is. So we've developed the collaboration with the university. It's again sort of sharing and doing things together. By setting up this curriculum, it was really us being able to provide equipment and expertise, but also what kind of skills are we looking for? And not only us, but sort of our colleagues in the industry. So how can we train people on that? So then being sort of quicker into the R&D teams and the innovation businesses. So I think as an industry, we also need to take part of building that sort of recruitment pipeline and making sure that we support the growth of the students into sort of innovative employees at our companies and our colleagues.
Great, thanks a lot. I'm thinking even, how can we if I'm a parent and I have kids, what kind of, maybe how can I encourage my kids to innovative thinking? How, what kind of parenting skills might be needed? What's your take on that, Gunnar?
Well, first of all,
any thoughts?
Just want to quickly address the previous issue. And innovation management is a people's game. You need people, you need competence, and you need people that are willing to be part of it. At the same time, it's a vicious circle. If you're not an innovative organization, you will not attract competent people. And if you don't have competent people, you will not be an innovative organization. So you have to get your act together. You need to demonstrate and position yourself as the leader, the innovator in your sector, in your industry. That's the only way to compete for talent, I would say, because there will be a shortage. We can't fix that, actually. There will be a competition for competence. Now, your second question: how can we? Well, you know, being innovative is not something we're born with. It's a skill, a capability that we can train, and it's a muscle that we can train, and we can start early. I mean, if we're talking about kids, we need to give them competence and knowledge about the tools and methods that are available, and they can start using it very, very early on. And it becomes second nature, something that we need to train grown-up people, in training programs and certify them as innovation management professionals. We can start doing that very, very early on. And maybe we don't even have to run training programs in that case in the future. But unfortunately, the educational system doesn't give that. So it's up to the parents, unfortunately.
Gunnar, maybe you can, there's one point, maybe I agree with almost everything you said. Just one thing, yep. I think kids have a very innate curiosity and ability to put things together that kind of gets lost over time. It's almost bringing the child back in people to allow for that, the creative part to be coming out again. And if there's one thing that I tried with my kids, I don't know how successful I've been, but to retain that creative part, this playing part, which is a very important piece of the innovation. And then we can train them up on maybe the systematic, the rigor and so on. But I think that this curiosity and this playing part is an important element of innovation that keep that alive in your kids.
No, I completely agree, but we're killing their kind of curiosity and exploration through the kind of the norms of society and how we organize ourselves. And also the educational system. Yeah, we need to kind of keep that alive, of course, but also give them the tools to be creative within that environment.
Yeah.
And that then it brings back the systematic thinking and the structured way of doing things.
And building the trust that it's okay to fail. Because I think that sort of kids do trial and error by nature. And we put the wet blanket on them that this is not the way of doing things, but it's sort of testing new things that makes new ideas pop up. So I think it's not really the kids that need the training, it's the parents.
Yeah, providing the safe environment. I mean, we use that term within the company, but if you think about kids, you want them in a safe environment to learn that the boilerplate of your stove is hot, right? You want to experience that, but without burning themselves. So providing an environment where you can experience it without being damaged. I think that's super important to go through. It's a good environment to be in.
I have a question for you with regards to the environment and the conditions for innovating. And we work across different industries and sectors. And one thing that we come across often in the life science sector is regulations. So it's an excuse for not doing anything because everything is regulated. How do you deal with that?
Well, one example is the Testa Center, really. So designing an environment where you are allowed to and you're supposed to test, but in a framework that is typically regulated. But it's so in one way it's very regulated and you're doing the same thing every day in the biopharma industry, but it's still a very innovative business. And I think the focus has been to support the R&D teams. There's large investment into R&D, and there's so many unmet medical needs. So I think that there's a drive within the company that there's so much still to do, that brings up the innovation and the curiosity. So it's a mix, but I think you need to not differentiate or put the two teams to one side, so R&D at one side and manufacturing at another side, but give them space to where can you be innovative, in which space can you be innovative. You can't change the existing manufacturing or biopharmaceutical, but how should we work on for the future if we want to do things even better? That's sort of a safe place to be, still having quality, but an innovation space as well.
Yeah, no, I agree, Lotta. And Gunnar, I think to me, often regulations are used as an excuse not to innovate. And when you think about it, I think you need to think about what in our industry, what's the purpose of the regulation. The regulation is there to make sure that whenever I take a pill or I get injected with anything like the vaccine, that it's safe and does what it's supposed to be doing, right? So those things we don't want to put at risk at all. But then how do we get there? There are many ways how we can improve. And then we need to prove it to the regulators that the new way of doing it is also safe. But we can, and actually the regulators like the FDA is asking us as an industry, our customers and suppliers like us, to be more innovative, to make sure that, really life-changing therapies can be accessed by everyone, because many of these therapies are just way too expensive. So they have a mission there to support us actually on innovating, and to make sure that unmet need, Lotta was talking about, they're huge unmet needs, and we have just a fraction of the diseases are actually treatable today. There's huge unmet need, but it needs to also be affordable for societies. And so there's a huge need to innovate, and regulators are there to keep us safe, and we need to find a compromise between those two.
And I think the past year has clearly demonstrated what can be achieved when the life science industry focus on innovation, sort of taking out vaccines at very, very high speed, but also doing it together with the regulators. So it is sort of doing things together, iterating, making sure we have the quality, the safety, and all the aspects that needs to be addressed, but doing it at the speed that's never been shown before.
Do we need to do this more often? I mean, like you mentioned, Lotta, last 1.5 years, it's been, we've been at a critical stage. Is that what it takes to, work together with regulators? Or, I mean, how can we facilitate that in order to accelerate innovation?
To me, it sparks ideas on what can be done, what other industries might be able to do if we can develop the same ways of working that we've applied now the past year. Sort of, instead of having regulatory authorities that take a look at your innovation after you've done it, being part of it and being part of the journey. If we think about sort of sustainability and all the innovation that's needed to support the climate and a planet for us to live in, there's so much that's also regulated in that environment. And if we can do that innovation journey together with the same way that the life science industry has shown, then I think we can be very successful. Excuse me.
Yeah, and maybe one additional aspect is collaboration, right? Lotta, you mentioned it already. I think it has really shown us that it's, in a way, in the future probably no longer acceptable that it takes 10 years from initial the discovery of a molecule to having it on the market. So there are many pushes to do that faster, and we as suppliers in the biopharmaceutical industry will collaborate closer, are already collaborating much closer with some of our customers. And I mean, some of the other aspects that we heard about, using digital twins, using modeling, is super important. There are so many aspects that come into that, but ultimately not sacrificing any of the safety. And I think that's the big challenge that we're under here in this environment.
Maybe that's a question to you, Gunnar. Have you seen that type of collaboration in any other industries?
We're starting to see collaborations around the missions, the big topics, but it's in a really early stage, I would say. Different actors coming together to solve difficult issues, and we're involved in such initiatives. But the maturity is very low. Because there's uncertainty around the collaboration, and there's uncertainty around the things that they need to do together. So kind of double up on uncertainty. And that's actually one of the driving forces behind the ISO standard, is to make sure that we have a common framework, we have a common language. We can start discussing, we're on the same page, at least when it comes to what elements need to be in place to start collaborating and innovating together around important missions, joint missions. So that's one of the kind of why so many 50 countries and experts in 50 countries has come together to create this ISO 56000 standard for innovation management. One of the main purposes.
Interesting. So, and that was, of course, one of the conclusions and takeaways from your presentations, of course, that collaboration is key. Some sort of, we need to foster a certain kind of culture of you know, that it's okay to fail, and in order to try out new things. So I'm going back to the question about education system. Do you think, how does the education system, how does it need to adapt? Or maybe it's a too tough question in just 10 minutes left, but do I have to have a degree in order to contribute, in order to be part of the life sciences industry? What are your thoughts?
Maybe I can start.
Yeah.
I think it's really a crazy idea. You grow up, you go to school, and then you go to university, and then you're 20, 25, and then your education is done. It so much more sense if you get continuous learning, new inputs, you grow. You typically do that when you're an employee, when you work at the sort of industry or government or wherever. But sort of the new innovations and new technologies, new services, they develop over the years. And I think we need to adapt our education system into more a continuous system, and with the sort of available tools, sort of online systems where you can grow at your own choice when and how and what. I think that needs to happen, both in sort of our local environment, but also globally.
I think it's very interesting. I mean, we have so much knowledge at our fingertips when, you know, going on the internet, and there's so many courses and so much, I mean, so much you can find out yourself, that I definitely agree with you, Lotta, that coming out of university, having a degree, actually, it's actually when you're out experiencing yourself, that's, you know, I would say that's the best way of learning and improving yourself. So hence my question about is a degree necessary in order to, you know, in order to be part of this industry, or in order to, you know, accelerate innovation and you know, contribute to a more a better world.
Innovation is a mindset, not a degree.
Yeah.
I was Lotta, I think you put it brilliantly there. I fully agree. I think people, I mean, all across from different education levels and backgrounds can help. I would say in the life sciences industry, obviously some scientific background is often helpful, but there are many other aspects. And if you're in commercial, I mean, you can bring yourselves into the life sciences industries from many different angles. And I would say we've all learned a lot. I mean, when I think back when I was educated in school, obviously, and now I'll give away how old I am, but it's like computers were just being invented, right? Computers were just starting around. Internet was not available. We have learned so much about digital tools over the last 20, 30 years. And that's a part of what we do every day. So if I think back what I learned in school and what I learned at university, it's only a small fraction what I apply every day. So this, I think, what do our schools need to do and universities need to do to instill the desire to keep learning, to give everyone the ability to learn and to go into the world with a curiosity and learn about new things. That's super important. And then with that, give you one example. I have one colleague of mine who talked to me. She's in finance. And she said, and she talked to me as a VP of innovation and asked, like, Dirk, I just love innovation. How can I be more, how can I get involved? And she just took a role where she becomes the finance manager for an R&D organization that does innovative things. So it's always the way how you bring yourself in and you start learning about something new, and then that opens up new career opportunities. So I think the pathway is open for many different backgrounds. I don't know, Gunnar, what do you think?
No, I agree. It's not a matter of education. Now, I'm talking more in general about contributing to innovation efforts and being successful in that. It doesn't have to do with your degree. It's a mindset, but there is also a skill set. You need, for example, you need to be able to have a bit of visionary thinking. You need to be able to have abstract thinking. You need to swing between abstract and very detailed thinking. So there are some skills that you need to develop as part of your skill and mindset and traits. Another area, and that's contributing to innovation efforts being part of that. Another part of innovation is innovation management, and I think Dirk is a perfect example of that. As an innovation management professional, you need to have a certain kind of degree or education to be able to organize the whole thing. How do you frame opportunities? How do you set up an idea campaign that is successful? I mean, we've had a client just the other week. They've launched a idea campaign similar to you had. They had one contribution, you know, one single, and you have hundreds of them. It's you know, it requires some knowledge and some tools and some methods and some processes, and you need to know that. You need to be able to organize and lead that. So and that of course require education and practice.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. I know I would love to have continuing this discussion. We're almost running out of time, so I would like to wrap things up, and first and foremost, thank each and every one of you for contributing to this event with great presentations, and especially now with great insights and sharing your experiences. And one thing I learned now is how to find your inner child again, and in order to spark innovation. I think I like that one. I think we need to. I think we need to find our inner child again and let it blossom. And that's my one takeaway. So thanks a lot, and hope to see you soon again.
Thank you,
Thank you
Rian.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.